anger, the short madness that sets us on the path to self-destruction. This is how Roman philosopher Seneca went as far as to describe anger. He described it as our most hideous and wild passion. He even said that it is fundamentally wicked. He even went as far as to say that no plague has caused the human race more dearly. And just as Seneca argued, we tend to associate anger with something negative. We see it as something negative. But anger is simply an emotion. This is the don't get angry misconception. Who hasn't been told by someone to not get angry, to stop being mad? Or who hasn't told someone to not get angry? Mistakenly, we see anger as something negative that should always be avoided by everyone. But, as the American Psychological Association describes it, anger is a completely normal, usually healthy human emotion. And this makes sense if you think about the evolution of human motivation, is what said Henk Arts of Utrecht University in the Netherlands. All emotions, including anger, evolved to keep us safe and to allow us to survive. If you think about it, once in history, men needed anger to fight for limited resources, to fight for limited food in our environment. Anger is responsible for our fight response. Because of anger, we can gain power to overcome our enemies. And that's why anger is important. Apart from being a normal emotion, it is also a healthy emotion. On one side, expressing anger allows us to distress ourselves. It allows us to get rid of any negative energy that we might have. In other words, it helps us calm down. On the contrary, suppressing anger could be negative for someone's health. As Dr. Ernest Harburg and his team at the University of Michigan School of Public Health found, people who suppress their anger are more likely to have bronchitis, have heart attacks, and die earlier than people who let their anger be known. Similarly, Dr. Charles Spielberg said that the danger is that if it isn't allowed outward expression, your anger can turn inward on yourself. Anger turned inward may cause hypertension, high blood pressure, or even depression. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my notes. So, knowing that suppressing anger could be negative for someone's health, knowing that expressing anger could be beneficial for someone's health, and knowing that anger is a natural emotion that evolved with us to help us become stronger and survive, do you still think that telling someone to not get angry is appropriate? Personally, I don't think so. But at the same time, I understand why people tell others to not get angry, and I understand why people have a negative image of anger. There's a reason for that. People see anger as something negative because anger could be a very dangerous emotion. As psychologist John Riskin said, anger could be dangerous because anger pushes people to do something that might stop the immediate threat, but in the longer term will make the situation worse, such as punching someone. John Riskin said that the angrier you are, the more possible it is to have a negative sequence of events. Anger is dangerous because it may turn into rage. It may turn into you becoming aggressive. It may turn into you acting before thinking. But let's not forget, anger may turn into aggressiveness or rudeness. Anger isn't the same as aggressiveness or rudeness. Mistakenly, some people, when getting angry, they become aggressive, they punch things, they punch a pillow, or they let their anger be known in wrong ways. But Brad Bushman, who studies catharsis and anger at Iowa State University, has found that expressing your anger, even against inanimate objects, doesn't make you less angry at all. In laboratory experiments, whacking a punching bag or attacking a pillow actually seems to increase anger, not tame it. It's been tested several times, and there's virtually no scientific evidence to support catharsis. So, anger, as I've explained, could be very dangerous. But at the same time, if controlled, it could be very beneficial. Now, you may be thinking, but how can anger be controlled and be turned into something positive? How is it that we can manage our anger in a way that anger becomes beneficial for us? There are many methods and techniques that could be used for controlling anger and making use of anger in a way that it benefits us. But the technique that I think has helped me the most personally, the technique that I use the most, and the technique that I want to share with you today is called temporal psychological distancing. Temporal psychological distancing involves imagining that you are your future self looking back at your actions today. It involves thinking that you are in the future looking back at your present actions. By using this technique, I've been able to gain awareness of how my actions today and how my actions while being angry are going to shape my immediate future. By using this technique, I have started to think that my future self wouldn't want me to turn into an aggressive person as a response to my anger. And finally, by using this technique, I have experienced all the benefits that anger could give. Firstly, I have learned that anger could be beneficial because it improves physical performance. In 2009, sports scientists in the UK made a research in which they asked participants to imagine an intensely annoying scenario before doing a leg strength test. At the same time, they asked another group of participants to not imagine that intensely annoying scenario, but do that same leg strength test. They found that angry participants, or the participants that imagined the annoying scenario, performed better at the leg strength test than participants who felt neutral. Later studies found similar conclusions when studying ball pitching and jumping. They found that the angrier participants were, the faster their pitch and the higher they were able to jump. I have experienced this personally in my life by playing sports, specifically by playing soccer. There was this match in which I kept getting fouled by a player from the other team, and in the beginning I was really angry, and at one point I lost control of my anger. And I started to scream at the referee for not calling out the foul and for not sanctioning the other player. As a response, the referee sanctioned me with a yellow card for screaming at him. Then the game carried on, and the player from the other team kept fouling me, and I was still angry. But this time, instead of using my anger to yell at the referee and getting a yellow card, I used my anger to run faster than before. I channeled it towards effort, and towards making sure that the opposite player wasn't capable of fouling me again. From this experience, I learned that anger could be either destructive or constructive. It depends on how you view it and how you manage it. Apart from boosting physical performance, anger is also capable of motivating, boosting concentration, and improving overall mental activity. And this is supported by an experiment realized by Heather Lynch at the Texas A&M University and Linda Levine at the University of California, Irvine. In this experiment, both Heather Lynch and Linda Levine asked participants to solve anagrams. An anagram is a word or phrase made by transposing the letters of another word or phrase. They were asked to solve these anagrams in order to measure their intelligence. We will recreate part of this experiment today. As you can see, the word care can be turned into the word race if you rearrange the letters of the word care. And the same can be done with the anagrams jump and ball. So now I'm going to ask you to try to solve the anagrams jump and ball. To do this, you simply have to reorder the letters of jump and ball in order to form a new word. If anyone has the answer, you can just raise your hand and I'll give you the word. Come on, no one? Maybe you know the first letter? These are really easy anagrams to solve. Alb. Sorry, but I think it doesn't work. Okay, so, well, time to confess. If you're struggling to solve these anagrams, it's because they are unsolvable. They are impossible to solve. Yeah. The whole point of this experiment was to measure how failing affects performance, how it affects motivation, and how it affects persistence. So, since they were impossible to solve, don't get angry at yourselves for not being capable to solve them. Or actually, do get angry at yourselves. When trying to solve this anagram, some of you got angry at yourselves for not being able to solve it. Some of you maybe felt sad. Some of you felt anxious. And maybe some of you felt completely unfazed. But for those of you who got angry, I can tell you that feeling angry made you want to solve the anagram more. Anger made you desire to solve it more than before. What's more, I could even say that when I told you that it was easy, you got even more angry at yourselves for not being capable to solve it. And your desire to solve it increased even more. Rather than causing people to give up, anger seems to energize people. It seems to increase their persistence. And that's why anger could be positive. Anger is aimed towards what is attainable. And when feeling anger, we feel positive about our ability to change our situation. We feel positive about our ability to go from an undesired position to a desired position. As Aristotle said it, the angry man is aiming at what he can attain. And the belief that you will attain your aim is pleasant. So, feeling angry and anger could be very beneficial if managed correctly, as you have just seen. But if managed incorrectly, it could be prejudicial. It could become into rage, it could become into aggressiveness, it could turn into aggressiveness, sorry. So, it is all about knowing how to tame anger in the right moment and knowing how to bring anger in the right moment. It is about understanding that anger should not be neglected. Instead, it should be adopted. If used correctly, anger could become your friend. It can become a tool. Thank you.